after we wrapped the last movie, I got a call from Dennis Hopper asking me if I would help him with a tour he was taking. I assumed that he meant it was colleges talking about filmmaking. I said, sure, why not? It was between jobs anyway. The only thing was, it wasn't colleges, it was rodeos, and he wasn't talking about filmmaking, he was performing the Russian Dynamite chair trick. Now that's where you sit in a chair with 6 sticks of TNT strapped to it. Now the theory is the dynamite explodes out, leaving a little vacuum pocket in the center that would protect you from any damage from the blast. And that the worst that would happen was you'd have a little ringing in your ear, but nothing else. So we arrive in El Paso, Texas. It's me, Dennis, Vim Vendors, and Terry Southern, who's been feeding Dennis this mixture of LSD and cocaine that he said was guaranteed to make you become one with the universe in half the time. Also, there was a large contingency from the local VFW. They had never forgiven Dennis for his anti-Vietnam stance, and they were looking forward to seeing him get blown up into little hippie bits. So, Terry and I wire up the chair. Dennis gets in. We move to a minimum safe distance, and when Dennis gave the signal, we blew that son of a bitch. Except one of the sticks of dynamite failed to detonate. And Dennis ends up getting sucked out through the hole of the explosion and ends up screaming headfirst into the crowd of veterans. It was horrible. It was like the magic bullet, except instead of a bullet, it was Dennis, and instead of JFK's head, it was about half a dozen middle-aged Korean War veterans. It was a terrifying sight. Vim Vendors immediately went into shock. Terry Southern was so disgusted he started throwing up. He was throwing up so much that he was throwing up food he had eaten as a child. Me, I got to the car, dropped the hammer, and didn't stop until I reached the border, because I had learned from bitter experience that there are 2 places in this world you never want to see the inside of. A Texas jailhouse and Mae West after half a bottle of absinthe. I know that second one sounds like fun, but trust me, Mae was a very mean drunk. But that's another story for another time. Thankfully, this was pre-internet, and the local police were able to cover it up by blaming it on what they claimed were anarchists bust in from Austin. Once again, when it comes to Texas policemen, it's best not to ask too many questions. Anyway, the next time I saw Dennis was at an art show in Los Angeles years later. Saw me, gave me a big hug. He was doing great. He had cleaned himself up. He had shot Hoosiers in Blue Velvet, and he had become a newly minted Reagan Republican. Which only goes to prove, no matter how low you sink, no matter what kind of hell you find yourself dragged through, it is always absolutely possible to overcorrect.